Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News. This is Scott from the Nibiru channel, August 1st, 2017. Listen folks, I'm over here at space.com and I've been talking a lot about this sunspot that was once known as AR2665. They'll be giving it a new number here shortly as it starts to come around the left side of the sun. A lot of you may have questions as to what are sunspots. And no, that is not a big sunflower on your screen. That's a close-up shot of a sunspot on our sun. Kind of does look like a sunflower, but it's not. And these are lethal when they're facing Earth. Now, going into just a quick definition for all of you, what a sunspot is. I'll just read it straight from space.com. Sunspots are darker, cooler areas on the surface of the sun in a region called the photosphere. The photosphere has a temperature of 5,800 degrees Kelvin. Sunspots have temperatures of about 3,800 degrees Kelvin. They look dark only in comparison with the brighter and hotter regions of the photosphere around them. Sunspots can be very large, up to 50,000 kilometers in diameter. The one that we're going to be facing, is approximately 75,000 miles long. Now that was the last measurement. It could possibly be getting bigger. It states that they are caused by interactions with the sun's magnetic field, which are not fully understood. But a sunspot is somewhat like the cap on a soda bottle. Shake it up and you can generate a big eruption. Now, ladies and gentlemen, over the past couple of weeks, we've seen this sunspot AR2665 produce several large coronal mass ejections. They are very dangerous, especially if they are Earth facing. And speaking about Earth facing, we're going to be looking at this sunspot in about a week. And we're going to be dealing with it for approximately 14 days. So we're going to be on guard. But I wanted to show you this photograph. This is a NASA photograph. And this is the approximate size of the Earth. And they're comparing it to several sunspots, a group of sunspots that were on the sun. And as you can see, these sunspots, they're much larger than Earth. A lot more powerful. There's one more diagram that I wanted to show you. And this dates back to October 22nd, 2014. This was a situation where they had 4 sunspots. This number 12192 right here was pretty massive. They compared it to the size of Jupiter, and then right below here you see the size of Earth. You can fit a couple of the Earths right inside of that sunspot. Now, moving over to the SDO, the Solar Dynamics Observatory, we're taking a look at one of the views of the sun. This is in the 193 angstrom view. You can see rather large coronal hole at the top, blending in with another coronal hole here. This was a small coronal hole that was facing the Earth several days ago. You have another small one opening up here. And where my cursor is, right below the equator, the imaginary equator of the sun, sitting right below that equator is where our Earth is positioned. As you can see over here on the left side of the sun, if you notice these loops, these are large plasma loops. You could already start to see a lot of solar flaring and these loops. These plasma loops are absolutely huge. And for us to start to see them already is incredible. Not only is it incredible, it's actually very, very eye-opening, because these plasma loops are very large and the situation that we're going to be facing is going to be dangerous. I will be straight up front with all of you. If we happen to be in the kill shot zone, as they say, with one of these CMEs coming from this active sunspot, well, once again, I'll be honest with you, this could fry the Earth. That's why the nickname for these types of situations, they call it a kill shot. Because one Earth-facing, violent, strong CME could wipe us out. Now, I've been mentioning this for weeks now, ever since this sunspot AR2665 developed. A lot of the professionals said that there was nothing to worry about, there was very little action on this sunspot, and that came to be completely 100% false. Because this sunspot has now produced several massive coronal mass ejections. I've reported on all of them. I'm sure if all of you follow Planet X, you've seen some of the other channels that have reported on these CMEs. But as the sun is rotating towards us, so is that CME, or excuse me, so is that sunspot. Hopefully it won't be a CME facing us. But ladies and gentlemen, that sunspot is very active. Very, very active. You know, we're going to be in the line of sight of that sunspot for a good while. At least 10 days. Possibly a little more. We're going to take another look at another view. We're going to take a look at the 304, and we're going to see a little bit more intensity. Now, once again, notice the big coronal holes, and these were all Earth facing. We'll be seeing some solar wind impacting the Earth and our magnetopause and magnetosphere probably sometime today or tomorrow. But if you take a look over here, these plasma loops are absolutely huge. Now, we only have one view of the back of the sun, and I'm going to show that to you. And earlier this morning, I did a short video on what I captured on the back side of the sun. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this up, put it in full screen. And this is on stereo imaging. And this is on stereo ahead EUVI 195 angstroms. Extreme ultraviolet. Now, I have this sped up as fast as possible. Now, I located this morning several objects in the sun's corona, over here and up here. And no sooner than I posted my video, this information was gone. And I want you to notice something very, very carefully. First of all, this is the sunspot we're looking at right here. And you can notice how slow this is going. And I have this full speed. But as it progresses towards the 30th and the 31st, watch how fast they speed this up. You see all this interference? All of that interference that was affecting the camera on the stereo craft. Something was disturbing the sun at that point. That's why you see the corona pixelize like you do. There is missing data here. The objects that I found here and here have been wiped clean. I wonder why. We're going to take another look at another view. So just let me back up here. And we're going to take a look at the last coronal mass ejection on the back side of the sun. This one was pretty impressive. It was publicized all over YouTube. I talked about it quite a bit. Now we're looking at the same thing, stereo ahead, EUVI 304 angstrom. Now once again, I'm going to try to speed this up. That's about as fast as it's going to go. Now, you'll see the last coronal mass ejection that you just saw there. That's the sunspot. Did you see how explosive that was? But you see how quickly, if you watch the timestamp, once it moves to a certain point, they rotate the sun very rapidly. Now that was the point where I captured the object here and another object up here. They wiped it clean, folks. And I'm going to slow this down just a bit because I think I've proved my point about them wiping this clean. So the more information we find, well, they're just going to keep sweeping up in front of their doorstep. But what you're looking at there is the sunspot that is turning towards us. Now once again, why the rapid movement in the time frame? Well, they probably don't want you to see what I saw very, very early this morning. And this is, I think, the third or fourth time in the last couple of days that they have wiped data right off of several of the sites in 4-hour increments. So that's kind of giving me a clue on possibly these objects orbiting around the sun or whatever they may be doing. But it seems to be this 4-hour increment of missing data seems to be the norm as of lately. But that's what is going to be facing us in about a week. And again, I'm going to be very honest with all of you. This is going to be a very, very serious situation. I mean, we're going to be watching it non-stop. And the only thing we could do is hope for the best. Now earlier, a lot of you may have seen the video that I did about the possible UFO sighting on the SOHO C2 coronagraph. Well, this is what I was doing. I was checking out the flaring coming from the left side of the sun that has to do with that sunspot. And I was basically watching the venting of this sunspot when I spotted that object. If any of you have not seen that video, go back to the last video that I produced, possible UFO sighting on the SOHO coronagraph, and check it out. But I'm going to go ahead and start this, and this is what I was checking out right here. All of this flaring. You could see this light right there. And that is the sunspot. And folks, that's a large amount of intensity. That's the best way that I could put it. There's a lot of action going on with this sunspot. This is definitely something that we need to heed caution. You know, there's nothing wrong with being prepared for situations. At this point in time, any type of geomagnetic storm can occur. Now, we could have power outages. There's a lot that can happen. And again, this is not going to be a one-day event. Once this sunspot starts turning into complete view, even if it is on the far left side of the sun, and a CME, a coronal mass ejection, occurs, we are going to feel the effects of it. Now, I would much rather something like that happen than for a coronal mass ejection to be directly Earth-facing. That would be deadly. Instantaneous. Now, the doctor She was going to prepare a complete report on these sunspots, but we're going to go ahead and do a live stream in a little while, and she's just basically going to give you her observations on this sunspot and the possibilities of what can occur. And again, folks, it's not going to be a one-day event. We're going to be looking down the barrel of this sunspot for almost 2 weeks as it moves from the left side of the sun all the way across to the right. And the way it's been acting over the past 2 weeks, well, there's been a tremendous amount of activity. But once again, you don't hear this space agency or space weather reporting office in Washington, D.C. saying anything about it, holding a press conference. But ex-President Barack Obama wrote it in as an executive order. The U.S. Space Weather Office. We haven't heard nothing from these people. Do they even exist? What were they expecting? Are they expecting a situation like this? All kinds of questions are now arising. Now, there are so many questions arising pertaining to the solar eclipse that's coming up. I believe it's August 21st. I mean, this eclipse is a big deal. There's even some talk of civil unrest. Why? I don't know why people would all of a sudden want to, create this civil unrest. But that's like they say the word on the street. Will we even see it? Will the government try to cover it up with geoengineered weather and chemtrailing? You never know. They chemtrail every day where I live. They block out the sun as much as possible. I would love to see this eclipse, but I don't know. There's just something deep down inside of me that's telling me this government doesn't want you to see it. And if they have anything to do with it, you won't see it. Just like they delete data whenever we make a discovery. Because I'm getting to the information before they are. Maybe they don't notice it before they post this information. Maybe they're listening to me, watching what I'm looking at, and then disposing of the information. Hey folks, it's the government. That's the way they work. But anyways, I just wanted to go over some of this information with you on this sunspot and what we're going to be looking at in the course of the next several weeks. It will be definitely a time to be on guard and keeping up with all of the information that will be published. And you can guarantee I'll be on top of this situation morning, noon, and night. This is Scott from Planet X News and the Nibiru channel. Thank you for watching.